Hello everybody, Steve here. This time I'm in Newport, Rhode Island at the brand new Newport Skatepark. This park was built in 2024 and had its grand opening this year in 2025. But this is an 18,000 square foot Spohn Ranch built park. The locals were heavily involved in the design of this, so you might know Donnie Barley. He lives here in Newport, Rhode Island. He was instrumental in organizing the design work as well as the fundraising for this park. It's $1 million park, and it's just an incredible facility. Lots of different obstacles, whether you like skating transition or street stuff, and there is really something here for everybody. So I'm going to take you through the skate park and show you all the different features here. And if you are in the southern part of Rhode Island at any time, you definitely want to come by and check out this skate park. I'm going to kick things off by starting in the northwest corner of this particular park. And on the western side of the park is really where you get the lowest impact sections, and it's really kind of divided into 3 different spaces. But there's all kinds of lines to skate in here, so you'll have plenty of opportunity to try out whatever you want. So first thing you can see here is pretty standard, like Spohn Ranch metal curb. They put this in a lot of their parks now, but this thing is like 20 feet long or so and super easy to get onto. You can see it's kind of that like pyramid polygon shape to it. Then we've got a long squarish flat bar. This thing is probably close to 25 feet long, about 2 inches wide on top, so you definitely have to balance, but it's only about a foot off the ground, so very easy to get onto and pop onto, and you can do long slides and grinds. And right next to it is a double-sided like bench style ledge. This is a little bit taller than the flat bar, but not by much. Probably only about 13 or 14 inches tall. Definitely wide enough to manual, so there's about 2 feet wide on top. And it extends close to 25 feet long or so. So nice couple of easy, low impact things to skate right out of the gate. Next, you've got basically like a moon shaped or kind of clamshell style quarter pipe that starts out on the lowest heights of about a foot and goes all the way up to about 2.5 or 3 feet at its highest point. And the decking is also slightly curved and shaped, so you can carve around it as well. So whether you want to grind it or just pump around it, you've got that as an option. And it is very long, like maybe 30 feet from end to end. So big and lots of space to skate. Next, in the low impact area, we've got like a couple like roller, like pump track style pumps set next to a 2 foot tall like pyramid style ledge, kind of LA high bank type setup. And then in the middle of it, there's a slappy curb and manual pad that's only about 6 inches tall. So these work for all kinds of things, whether you're doing grinds, wall rides, manuals, what have you. Plenty of space to skate, and the whole thing itself, if I back up a little bit, is probably about 50 feet long or so end to end. So plenty of room to do stuff. And then you've got a round flat bar that's maybe 16 feet long, about a foot tall, next to another ledge that's much wider, that is another 16 feet long or so. And this one definitely sets up well for a manual pad, and you can hit it from other directions as well. So if you want to skate it like a little bump to ledge, you can do that. But needless to say, good setup for connecting different lines. Next, you've got a wall ride style jersey barrier. There's a clip floating around a Brandon Westgate olling over this thing from where I'm standing, which is insane because this thing is about 3 feet tall. On the other side, there's a slight bank up to it, so it skates more like a wall ride or quarter pipe on this side. But on this side, it's just, you know, your gnarly jersey barrier. Next to it, though, is kind of a longer, kind of stretched out version of the Pier 7 manual pads. This thing at the end is only about 8 inches tall and extends out about another 8 feet before you get to the drop at the end. And on top of it is about 4 feet wide. So you've basically got 16 feet of manual pad before you get to the drop, which is really nice. Now you've got a really steep, about 6 foot tall, 5.5 foot tall bank section that just sets up nicely to turn around and stuff like that. If you feel like it, you can definitely do flip tricks on it, but I will say that this is just about as steep as any quarter pipe is, so something to keep in mind there, but it sets up for you to change directions to go to any part of the park if you want. Now I'm getting down to more of the middle, like street course area that's a little bit taller, some more drops and steeper ramps and things like that. First thing I want to point out is this little bank to ledge. This bank to ledge has a slope of about 8 feet long, still super mellow, and culminates in about a foot tall box on the top of it. And next to it, you've got this like A-frame manual pad with a rainbow rail next to it. So at the beginning, the manual pad is only about 6 inches off the ground. The rail's maybe a foot. And then at its apex is about 1.5 feet or so, maybe 20 inches. So this is super mellow in terms of using it as a manual pad or a ledge or round rail. So lots of different opportunities here for all kinds of tricks, which makes it a really interesting obstacle. Another thing Spohn Ranch is kind of known for is building a lot of like A-frame pyramids with rails and hubbas, and that's what you see in front of me. So we've got this pyramid with a rail that's about 2 feet tall or so, nice and long, probably close to 12 feet long. And the pyramid itself is kind of a steeper hip to it, but still enough to just kind of pop you up, nice and mellow though, so you're comfortable with all kinds of flip tricks. And then you've got a bigger hubba setup where these hubba ledges in the middle are about 18 inches tall to get onto. But again, you've got that kicker off to get onto it and make it easier. But these extend probably 14 feet or so. So they're nice and long and mellow. So once you get on them, you're really along for a nice ride. Then on the other side of it, you've got more of like your fly box style pyramid where there's about 5 or 6 feet of flat on top that you could air over if you're carrying enough speed across the top. We then get into a variety of down and up and down obstacles really. So starting left to right, you've got a bank with a pole jam on the end of it that is like your standard triangle A-frame. That pole jam is about 18 inches tall off the ramp. And it's a little bit steeper than the ramp is, so you kind of go up the ramp, then hit the pole jam and get shot up a little bit into the air. Next to it though, you've got this hubba ledge that extends across basically a 2 flat 2. This hubba ledge is about 18 inches, maybe 20 inches to get onto, extends down about 10 feet. So pretty mellow still and not too bad to get on. Like I said, there's the 2 flat 2, and this is really long and extended. So you will have to carry a fair amount of speed if you're gonna gap it. And then of course you've got probably the biggest rail in the park, this square down rail, that I would say is about 2 feet tall or so. Next to it is a really mellow Euro gap that's really just a step up a curb. Do have to carry some speed to get across the top because the top part of it is a good 2 feet of gap, and this is not very steep where I'm standing at all. And then of course next to it you've got a bank ramp. Now shifting around a bit, we've got another back quarter area. This is really designed to facilitate all kinds of turns for different lines that you may be skating, as well as dropping in and getting speed. The quarter pipe that you see in front of me is about 3 feet tall and is like kind of a 90-degree elbow. If you were looking down on top of it, it'd be kind of like a J space. And that transitions down roll-ins to either go into the street area or hit another pyramid. I think the rail you see in front of me, which is has that diamond cutting on it, was just kind of a late addition. I don't think this was like intended to be an original part of the design or anything like that, but somebody put that in here as like kind of a little round down rail since the park really doesn't have one. But that goes into this really mellow pyramid with kind of a, you know, again, like an Alamo, like taco shell style setup ramp that you can pump over. That ramp in front of me is about 3.5 feet tall or so, and then the pyramid is maybe 2.5 feet tall. So both of these are really mellow and easy to skate. Good for pumping over or just doing tricks to change directions. On the opposite side of that pyramid is a 2-foot quarter, pretty straightforward with a roll-in on it, but that really gets us to this middle part of the park where we've got a mellow down rail where this thing is about 16 inches tall and it extends about 24 feet. and that connects into more line sections. Now we're getting into the middle part of the park as well as the signature obstacle. So first thing I want to point out is what's part of the bank to ledge I showed you earlier, where we have a Euro gap style step-up manual pad. It's about 1 foot tall with a 2 foot gap next to it. And that exists, this kind of gap exists on both sides, so you can skate it from either direction. We also have this like bump to ledge as well that extends probably 25, 30 feet. But really what I want to point out is these large granite curb blocks that were hand carved by some locals when they were put in. And basically what the locals decided to do was put in like a piece of like local material and have these granite blocks, and they carved them to be kind of like a mailbox on top. And this is really to feel like you're skating like a bump to curb almost. And this really works like a flat bar where you can, ollie onto it and slide all the way across the top of this step up, going about 25 or 30 feet. So nice and long and real granite as well, which really makes it the unique piece of the park that you won't find anywhere else. All right, so next I'm going to get into the transition pieces of this. And the first thing that you see in front of me is like the smaller kind of beginner's bowl. This thing is 3 feet tall. It's got a 4 foot extension and very standard kind of like almost skates like a mini ramp. Now on one side of it, which is kind of interesting, is that it's got a spine with that double barrel coping in it. And that double barrel coping really, allows you to do all kinds of different transfer grinds and things like that into a bigger bowl section. Now this bigger bowl section goes from about 4 feet tall all the way down to like 8 or 9 feet tall on the back end. And I'm going to give you kind of a panorama before I get down into it and skate it or do a skate through. But basically this shape of a bowl incorporates all kinds of different elements, and there's even like pool coping in the back. So this lower section, you're just kind of building up and getting used to taller ramps before it goes to like 5 feet, then like 7 feet. And then you've got some of this like taco shell area with some vert in it, and all kinds of different just lines and different hips, things like that. So you can see as I wrap around, there's like a love seat section style hip, and then these step ups with pool coping in it. So this is big, burly, plenty of space, lots of different lines, skates fast, really nice setup. There's a few other parts of the park that just kind of lend themselves to just different like freestyle, flowy skating. So you can see this like 2 foot, 2.5 foot quarter pipe corner area that's really more like a bobsled corner, I would say. No coping on it, just hand formed, kind of cool. And then there's a couple different bumps and things like that. And one of the bumps that I'll point out before we close things out has a rainbow rail embedded in it. So you can kind of grind over it out of the pump, if you will, and just keep going. So lots of kind of like flowy lines and all sorts of things to set up this park in. Really, really nice setup. Cool layout, a lot of good things. Supports all kinds of different styles of skating, whether you like transition, street, or just kind of cruising around like a pump track. So that does it for the tour of the Newport, Rhode Island skate park. I hope you found the skate park tour informative. Definitely an awesome park to come check out. Brand new, obviously, and lots to skate. So if you have any questions about the park, just drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next skate park tour video. Thanks for watching.